Why the person who speaks least controls the most? Why do some people walk into a room, say almost nothing, and still become the most influential person there? Not the loudest, not the most charismatic, not the person demanding attention, the person who barely speaks at all. Most people think influence comes from talking, from having the right words at the right moment, from making sure your voice is heard. But there is something happening in those rooms that most people never notice. Picture a meeting room, 8 people talking at the same time, ideas colliding, voices overlapping, everyone trying to sound confident. One person says almost nothing. They sit quietly, listening, watching. The conversation moves in circles. People repeat themselves, defend themselves, compete for attention. And then, the quietest person in the room speaks. 2 sentences, not 20, 2. The room goes silent, heads turn, someone writes the idea down, and the entire direction of the conversation changes. Most people watch that moment and think, that person is naturally confident, naturally authoritative, built differently somehow. But that explanation misses something quieter, something most people never think to examine. Because the real question isn't why that person commanded the room. The real question is why everyone else needed to. When you go quiet in a room, when a silence arrives that nobody fills, something happens inside most people almost immediately. A pressure, a pull toward speaking, toward explaining, toward saying something, anything, to close the gap. And here is what that pressure is actually made of. You are not filling a gap in the conversation. You are filling a gap inside yourself. The urgency to speak in silence is rarely about communication. It is about discomfort management. Silence asks something of us that conversation doesn't. It asks us to simply be present, without performing, without proving, without managing how we appear. And for most people, that is genuinely uncomfortable. Not because they are weak, because they have learned, somewhere along the way, that presence without performance is risky. This is where influence actually begins, not in what a person says, in what they no longer feel compelled to say. Because the person who cannot sit in silence, who rushes to explain, to justify, to elaborate, is showing the room something they may not intend to show. That the silence is costing them something. That they need the conversation to go a certain way. That somewhere beneath the words, something is being managed. And rooms feel that, not consciously, not as a judgment, just as a feeling. The feeling that someone is asking the room to carry something for them. The person who withdraws from that need, quietly, without announcement, creates something different. Not authority, not dominance, just the rare and unmistakable quality of someone who is not asking the room for anything. And this is where attention becomes interesting. Attention does not move toward noise. Attention moves toward uncertainty. The person who talks constantly becomes fully legible. You understand their position before they finish expressing it. You can anticipate where they are going before they arrive. Legibility fades into the background. But the person who speaks rarely, who listens without revealing what they think, who sits with something before deciding whether it deserves a response, that person cannot be fully read. And what cannot be fully read draws the mind back, again and again, quietly trying to complete the picture. This is not a technique. It is a consequence. The consequence of someone who has stopped requiring the room to confirm anything about them. But here is the part most conversations about silence never reach. Because there is a version of silence that is not any of this. There is silence that comes from not knowing what to say. Silence that comes from fear of being wrong. Silence that has learned to dress itself as composure, when underneath, it is the same discomfort everyone else is feeling, just expressed differently. The difference between silence that comes from presence and silence that comes from avoidance is almost invisible from across the room. Both look calm, both look composed, both carry the appearance of someone with nothing to prove. But one is the absence of need, and one is the concealment of it. And eventually, every conversation about silence arrives at the same question. When you go quiet, what is actually driving it? Is it that you are processing, observing, genuinely present without needing the moment to go a particular way? Or is it that speaking feels risky, that being heard means being evaluated, that silence is keeping you safe from the specific discomfort of being seen and possibly found wanting? Because both of those are silence. They look identical from across the room, but only one of them is what the room is actually responding to. Yet silence is often where the most honest version of a conversation lives. Because when someone no longer needs the moment to confirm something about them, something changes in how they occupy a room. They are not quieter, they are simply no longer trying to manage what the room thinks of them. And in a room full of people doing exactly that, that absence becomes the most noticeable thing present. The question that stays long after the room has emptied: am I speaking because I have something worth saying, or because the silence is making me uncomfortable? This content is based on established psychology and behavioral research. It is not clinical advice. If you are struggling, please seek support from a qualified professional. Have you ever stayed silent when everything in you wanted to speak, and discovered the silence said more than your words would have? Leave it in the comments. Quiet patterns,